Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Soda Personal Training Podcast. We help busy adults get strong and fit. I'm Coach Sean, here with the infamous Coach Blake.
Making my
first
professional debut.
So I have talked a lot about Coach Blake on this podcast. Mostly good things. I say mostly good things about you, but then I talk a little bit of smack as well. But anyway, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. And I think we got these settings all set up correctly. The camera might be a little crooked, but like, yeah, I did the best I could.
It's all about perspective.
So, yeah, exactly. All right. So we're going to do a fun one today. We're going to do over under. We got these like signs, right? Overrated or underrated. Okay. It's probably going to screw up the screen viewing even more. But we're going to talk about like maybe like 20 in no particular order.
Maybe more than that.
Maybe more than 20. Yeah. Like fitness, trends, things related to exercise, nutrition, whatever. Like, is it overrated? Is it underrated? Do we agree? Do we disagree? So, should be fun.
Yeah. So this is mostly our personal opinion on that stuff of like data I've seen and like criteria I've seen.
Yeah. And the thing most of you should keep in mind when listening is that like when you hear my opinion, like I've said many times on this show already, that like, I'm okay. I'm a decent fitness coach, but Coach Blake is much smarter than I, and he understands biomechanics and anatomy and everything like 5 times as well as I do. So whenever you hear my opinion on anything, especially if it's related to like a specific exercise or whatever, take it with a grain of salt, okay? Be like, that could be a mediocre, decent opinion. When you hear Blake's opinion, you trust it, okay? You trust it, all right?
Hit him with all the big words. That builds the trust every time.
Yeah, exactly. Hit him with the, the length and bias
The
cable.
length and bias cable curls, dude.
Yeah. With length and eccentrics.
Counter nutation, the big words you've been using.
Correct. Yeah, I still don't think I actually know what nutation is, but nobody else that works here does either. Anyway, should we start?
Let's get going to the spicy stuff.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Topic number 1. BCAAs.
Okay.
Overrated, underrated.
So this is the part where I'm going to share with the audience that I actually do know some stuff about science by explaining. Hold on. We got to preface what BCAAs are, don't you think?
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay. All right. We'll do our overrated, underrated first. Okay. So should we show our signs?
Yeah.
Okay. I put over, right?
Overrated.
Yeah. Both agree overrated. Okay. So what BCAAs are, so they're branched chain amino acids, and amino acids, are the building blocks of protein. You'll hear that there's, like 22 amino acids, 8 essential amino acids. The branched chain amino acids are leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Am I correct? Does that sound right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, but you'll see people drinking these drinks, right? Like these BCAA drinks, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I got to get my more amino acids or my protein or whatever, right? Why do you say overrated?
I say overrated because everybody tries to sell it as this great big thing or whatever because leucine is technically the most anabolic of all those BCAAs.
Yeah.
But in the end of the day, if your diet includes like meat, dairy, and all those type of products, you're basically already consuming those. So it's just like the only way I would see where you would take them for like an intra workout is if you're doing an extended training session going over 20 or 2 hours, like fasted or anything like that.
Yeah.
That'd be the only time.
Yep. Lots of length and bias, cable eccentric curls with Coach Blake, 40 sets of it, then maybe you need your BCAAs.
So if a nutrition shop tells you got to buy them, that's a red flag in my opinion.
It's definitely a red flag. Yeah. No, I agree. And that's basically the same reason I was going to say, just eat some protein, get some protein in your diet. You don't need to worry that much about the BCAAs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's just keep going. Let's go to the next one. There'll be some of these that will deviate and take like 10 minutes on, but yeah, what's the next one?
Creatine.
Oh, sorry. Did it bad.
Underrated.
See, what a shock. 2 meathead bros said that creatine is underrated. Should I go on this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so creatine, I think creatine is like the only supplement outside of vitamin D3 that I actually take regularly. I just take 5 grams a day, which is like the recommended dose, And, it's kind of originally marketed as like a strength and muscle building supplement, right? Which it is definitely. But I think we're also starting to find that it has a lot of cognitive benefits. And it's probably going to be recommended just like to the general population soon, what else? Basically no side effects,
Yeah. Usually they say like take caution with like kidneys and stuff like that. But that's usually if you got like an underlying kidney problem, that's where a lot of that comes from, and like your creatinine levels, like as you supplement with creatine, it may raise that, can be a little more harmful for the kidneys. So a lot of times when they try to like fear monger around the creatine with like the kidneys, it's a lot of people that had the underlying issues or with that creatinine levels.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Do you know any like side effects for like general? I mean,
No,
just
it's usually like the most research based, like underrated supplement you can take. It can be like that difference between you can get that 2 rep max instead of that 1 rep max. You never know, dude, because of what it does is it replaces that phosphate that we use in our ATP energies to give us an extra go
see this is
as we're like saturated with more creatine.
that's that science-based stuff that
Yeah.
Blake knows about that me and the rest of you listeners out there don't know about, but get that phosphate, get that creatine. No, but yeah, definitely. It really helps out with just getting stronger. And like I said, for most people, I think it's a good idea to take just 5 grams a day. Like, I mean, do you take 5 grams a day?
No.
Oh,
Oh, I mean, yeah, I do.
okay.
I was about to say like if I take less or something like that.
Okay. But
I
like,
was thinking about the next thing I wanted to say. Whereas like everybody thinks you got to like load creatine on, and I was like, no, you don't technically need to do that. All of that happens with like then you just get digestive issues and stuff like that.
okay. Yeah, like,
But as you're like saturating each day, you're fine with 5 grams a day.
okay. Yep. Yeah. So 5 grams a day is just a general recommendation for most people. Yeah. Okay. So you said something there that makes we're going to jump to another topic here, even though it's not necessarily in order. You said 1 versus 2 rep maxes. Okay. Over or underrated 1 rep maxes, training for 1 rep maxes. First disagreement. Dun, 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 dun.
You wanted to get that out of the way.
Underrated. All right. So why is it overrated?
In my personal opinion, if you're not training to be like a power lifter and stuff like that, why do you need to go for those 1 rep maxes?
Yeah.
Unless it's like a benchmark you want to get, I wouldn't incorporate it into your everyday training.
Yeah.
Like I hit all my 1 rep maxes back when I was 19. If I wanted to like get higher, I'd have to push more weight, and it's like that more risk for injury. I was like, nah, I'll just stick back to what I know best.
Yeah. And so you make like a really valid point. Most people could train almost every exercise with a relatively lighter weight than they think they should be doing, do it with better technique, a more full range of motion, slower technique, especially on the eccentric, which is that negative phase, the phase where you go back to the point of origin, and you could get more out of the exercise with 2/3 of the weight that you think you should be using, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's why I said underrated. I think that a lot of people would benefit, especially people who have never really tried it, who have never really pushed themselves. I think that a lot of people would benefit from really testing to seeing how strong they can get. Not even necessarily like a 1 rep max, but training sometimes in that 1 to 5 rep range. You know what I mean? Because I see so many people, especially who come into this gym, we're talking about just like general population, regular adults, not athletes, things like that, who come in and quite frankly, could be a lot stronger than they think they can. They're kind of afraid of the heavy weights, right? And so I try to teach people to not be afraid of it. And a lot of times I can get people to lift, even 50% heavier than they think they would on a given exercise. Now, the other reason that I make the case for it is because there's so many people that, when people strength train in the gym, what you see for the most part is people kind of in that like 10, 12, 15 rep range on most exercises, which is a great rep range to be in. If you want to build muscle, you can live in that for years and just get better at doing exercises in that 10, 12, 15 rep range. But sometimes there's value in, hitting your body with something that it's not ready for, right? Training in a rep range that you haven't done in a while, if ever, right? So let's say that you're someone who, I'm just going to use a simple example, okay? Like let's say you're doing, I'll just do the bench press example, right? Like let's say you bench press with barbell. I don't see that many people training barbell bench press, but like you're bench pressing with barbells and you're doing, 135 pounds and you get 10 to 12 reps with it every time. Great. It might be beneficial and even muscle building for you to say, you know what? I'm going to go really low rep and I'm going to see if I can get up to like 185 pounds, and I'm going to do, 3 or 2, or maybe even it's only 1 rep, right? But really push your top end strength. I think there's value in that. So that's why I say it's underrated, because I don't see that many people do it. And I do think there's value to training all these rep ranges. So,
well, I think there's value to blend a little bit of that strength with the hypertrophy. What I've been doing lately is like those bigger compounds, like say Smith incline.
Yeah.
Bench. I've been riding around in that 5 to 8 rep range, and then like finishing off with like a pec fly of anywhere from like 8 to 12 rep.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that perfect blend of that type of training would be like the ticket.
Yeah. If you do that, okay, so let's say, are you saying you will almost like superset it, like use the fly?
No.
Okay.
So the high systemic fatigue with the bench will be in the front of the workout, and then I'll finish off with a pec fly. maybe other like minor systemic fatigue type
Okay.
of exercises.
And that's common, I think, to do like slightly lower reps in the heavy compound lifts that tax the whole body. And then in the more like isolation exercises, as we call them, go a little bit higher reps, 10, 15, or even 20 reps. So, yeah. All right. What's next? Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go.
Pick anyone.
Failure training.
Failure training. Training to failure. Ooh, I'm curious what he's going to say here. This could be anything. I'm not even going to look what Coach Blake's put. I'm going to like pick mine up because I'm curious. I want to know what he says. I think I got the right one here. Okay.
Underrated.
All right. Underrated. We agree. Well, you want to go first?
I believe as a natural, training to failure will give us the most bang for our buck. There is like data and research that says stopping 1 to 2 reps shy.
Yeah.
But if you really want to make it as a natural, say like competing for bodybuilding, like myself, like I have to push it really close to failure in order to grow. Like Jeffrey Schofield, one of the guys I follow for like the last 5 years, his transformation is immaculate, from going from 14-inch arms to maybe I think they're around 18, 19 right now. Just natural, his typical bulk cut. And I've seen that man where a lot of people would stop at his like 5th rep in reserve. And he's just going and going and going. And like the progress he's seen, like anybody can do that if they just put their mind to that failure training.
So that's the ticket right there. You just hit on a really key point, okay? Because the technical answer is like if you ask, do you need to train to failure to get results, to gain muscle, to gain strength? The technical answer is no, you don't. You could live in that, like I never quite go to failure. I stop, 1, even 2 or 3 reps short of failure on most exercises. But here's the thing. I'm looking at you, camera, internet, people out there, maybe bots who follow this. Even the bots don't train to failure that often.
8 followers.
Our 8 followers, yeah. We're probably up to like 12 now because it's like 8 people and 4 bots. But
might explode to 30 after this one.
Exactly. Yeah. Now that we got somebody who's actually smart on the podcast, not just me and Phil. We've had Maddie on a few times, though. She's pretty smart. But anyway, so most people listening to this, even if you think you're going to failure, you're not actually going to failure. Like true failure is when you cannot mechanically move the weight anyway. You cannot move the muscles that are supposed to move the weight. Okay. So like you're doing a set of lat pull downs, for example. Most people will go to failure when they're like, oh my God, I can't pull it all the way down again. So I'm going to go fast up and just stop. Right. Okay. Like failure on a lat pull down is like, okay, you are pulling, you're trying to drive your elbows down into your ribs. You can't quite get all the way. So then you go slow as you can on the way up. You even maybe try again. And it's like the point where you can't pull all the way down, but you pull as far as you can with those lats. I'm like straining here as I'm talking about this. Like you are pulling to the point where the muscles mechanically do not move anymore. Right. And then you go as slow as you can back to the point of origin, basically. Like most people that I train, most regular people, I know that term sounds demeaning, but most regular people who are not fitness fanatics or are not athletes, they just don't ever get to failure, even if they think they are, right? And there's value in pushing hard. There's a time and place where you want to back off the intensity a little bit, but most people, you don't push yourselves that hard sometimes. Like sometimes, dude, I even catch myself doing this when I'm training clients out here, because we have a good like community-based gym. It's like a friendly place. You know what I'm talking about? It's not like a crazy hardcore bodybuilder gym. But sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, you know what? There's too many people that are passing the talk test when they're doing sets with me. Yeah. You shouldn't be able to talk to me that easily if you're training hard. And like in between the sets, sure. But like when we're doing an incline dumbbell bench press, trying to go for a heavy set of 8-10 reps, you shouldn't be able to talk to me during that. So
that's like I tell people, I've taken a set of dumbbell bench with 80s for probably 8 to 10 reps, and I wasn't able to make a 7-word sentence afterwards because I was so out of breath.
Yeah, exactly. That's it right there.
So like my big takeaway, like when people tell me they plateau or they're not building muscle, I usually ask them, are you working out or are you training?
Yeah. Yep. There's a difference in training.
There's a big difference.
Pushing. Yeah. Yup.
All
Just getting an extra sip of coffee here.
I'll let you choose some of the next topics.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get one that everybody wants to think about. Protein shakes. Okay. Overrated, underrated. Dun, 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 dun. Think through that. This is a really hard one for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to go a blend of both.
You can't do that?
Yeah, I can.
All right. You go first.
My topic. This is my topic.
I pick overrated, I guess.
Long story short, I'm
like
a guy that truly loves getting your nutrients and macronutrients from whole foods. Whereas like there are people in a day that struggle to get that protein in. That's where I would say you can do that protein shake because it's quick, easy, accessible, and it'll help you hit your daily protein goal.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more of like a whole foods kind of guy.
So we pretty much agree. And I like literally go back and forth on this one as a fitness coach. And even in my own diet, like right now, over the last like 4 or 5 months, I actually haven't used basically any protein shakes. It's been all whole natural foods. Although obviously I've had times, especially if I'm trying to really, if I'm trying to really, really build muscle and I know I need to push a lot of protein, I'll use them. But when I'm like talking to, the average client who talks to me about this, again, this is where the words "it depends" really come into play as a personal trainer. Like it's not the same answer for everybody, right? If it's some person who's saying, hey, I need to gain 20 pounds of muscle and I have a hard time, hitting my protein targets and getting enough food throughout the day, I'm like, yeah, slam a protein shake. Whereas if it's someone who's like, oh, I'm trying to lose, 20, 30 pounds and, I'm struggling with diet a little bit, maybe, it's always a good idea to try to get enough protein in the diet, but I really could go back and forth on this one because sometimes I think to myself, like, as long as that person is getting some, solid whole food sources of protein in the diet, we may not need to worry that much about getting like 1 gram of protein per pound of target body weight, which is like the typical, meathead personal trainer recommendation. I will say this, like for vegans and vegetarians, it's almost like a given that I'm going to recommend a protein powder because I find it so hard if you don't have animal-based sources of protein in your diet to get enough protein through whole natural foods. But if you eat any form of, meat, even eggs, whatever in your diet, certain dairy products, like you can get enough through whole natural foods. And especially if you're in a calorie deficit, you're trying to burn body fat. I find that like a whole natural foods approach is probably just the best thing for most people. And you start introducing a lot of protein shakes and especially bars, and sure, you're hitting your protein targets easier, but you're also putting some extra junk ingredients into your body typically, and it kind of like spikes your appetite even more,
Yeah. I've never felt satiated after eating a protein shake. I'd rather eat 130 calories worth of animal crackers than drink a protein shake.
The animal crackers joke is back. When was the last time you had animal crackers?
Probably the week after you made fun of me.
Okay.
When you came
Done
over
forever?
to watch football.
Mm-hmm.
I got rid of them.
Done forever on the animal crackers. Should we go to the next one?
Yep.
Okay. Booty bands. Let's talk about booty bands. Okay. Come on. This is a fun one. We gotta... Oh, you don't know your answer yet. That's what the hesitation was? Okay.
Well, no, we got to do this before I get in my spiel.
Yeah.
I got to prepare.
Yeah. I don't know what my answer is either. Dun, 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 I think we'll go with this. All right. Ready? Overrated. Okay.
Overrated.
Yeah. Booty bands are overrated. You go. I don't have that much to say about it.
They're just like hard to track and scale up for them. Yeah, there's harder bands or whatever, but a lot of times when you want that gluteal function, you still want that foot contact in with the ground because it's going to send like a signal all the way as a kinetic chain through like hip internal rotation, hip external rotation, and stuff like that, where your foot contact's going to be. That's why a lot of people, I don't really like when they do booty bands and stuff like that, like clamshells and all that stuff for hip pain and stuff like that, because then there's like no foot contact. Like what happens when we create contact with the ground? I was like, you're not doing that physical therapy, biomechanical rehabilitation with all the contact. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure we stay kind of close to the mics. Okay, cool. This is going to be like the first major deviation from the plan where I ask you some questions about this more specifically. Because there's, like, face it, we're put this out on the internet, and there is, whether they want to admit it or not, there's 30 to 50% of people at least watching this who want to grow their glutes. They want that booty, right? And this is more, I probably shouldn't smack my booty in front of the camera like that, but we did it. Anyway, and it's probably mostly women, even some guys, you know what I mean, want to grow their glutes, right? Okay, so let's talk about this from like a glute growth standpoint. Ooh, say that 10 times faster. Glute growth standpoint. So, when you think about, well, just talk to me in general about like what your go-tos are if someone says, hey, I want to grow my glutes.
Barbell hip thrust, front foot elevated, like reverse lunge or a split squat. Bulgarians. I feel like I'm missing. Oh, some type of cable glute kickback would be my go-to.
Okay.
Usually kicking at like a 45-degree angle. There's a few setups I know that are pretty good.
Dude, okay, so this is where like I watch YouTube videos and okay, so like for, people who don't know me, like I'm kind of a fitness fanatic to the point where I'll be in the gym all day, like working out, training clients, and then I'll go home and eat dinner and watch YouTube videos that are fitness related to the point where Nana, my fiance, gets mad at me. She's like, "Can we watch something else?" And
Sounds
I
just like me nowadays.
I know, I'm a full-on meathead. But like so, and I watch these videos and I always see these people, because I don't know how many freaking build your glutes videos I've watched, but I always see these people saying, yep, it's the glute kickback with like a booty band around the ankle, kind of, and then you're hooked up to the cable in a certain way. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm smart enough to set that up in a way that gets as much hypertrophy and glute flexion and glute stretch, wow, what's so damn
I
funny?
just feel like you're making phrases up right there.
Glute hypertrophy, flexion, and stretch.
Add
Stretch
that to the length and bias cable
Come
curls
on
right
now.
there.
Yeah. I want a glute stretch biased cable booty band kickback, right?
Yeah.
Is like for a not that smart person like me, is it easy enough to set that up?
There is a way that I've seen that's pretty like how I like things is to create the target muscle, the only thing working. There is a setup that has been going around where you set the cable probably about your knee height away from you, set yourself up to a high incline bench, put the cable on, and then kick back.
Okay.
So you basically just have to worry about the kicking leg. You don't have to worry about your balance or anything because you're supported on the bench.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. And because like it's interesting because I've seen so many people talk mad shit about like the machine kickback thing in the gym. Like those are terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are still terrible, right?
Well, it's like when you talk about like fiber orientations of the glutes, like straight back, in my opinion, isn't the best way to hit them.
Okay.
You want that little bit of an angle.
This is the official over my head science
Yeah,
part. The
this is like-
fiber orientation.
Yeah,
of
I
the
always
glutes.
think about fiber orientation when you're doing something.
Do we though? I think Blake is the only personal trainer that ever thinks about fiber orientation. Explain. Okay, no, this is a learning moment. Explain fiber orientation to me.
Well, it's like how your biceps muscle fibers run this way. So it makes sense that you want the resistance to come from this way, not like this way.
Yeah.
Another thing like traps, a lot of people think like shrugs just straight up and back, like that. But when you like break it down, the fiber orientation kind of runs this way. So then it might be more beneficial to set up cables set behind your back and then shrug up at an angle.
Okay. Yeah.
Like you always want to think about following the fibers.
Okay. Yeah. I do like that. So, and then the glute fibers. Okay. So please tell us more about the booty, Blake, because the glute, when we think about the glute, like, okay, this is kind of a round muscle. You got your gluteus maximus and your medius, apparently, which a lot of people apparently care about, may or may not be important. And then your gluteus, what is it, minimus?
Is this going to turn into a glute focus only?
It is. Phil and I have talked about this 1,000 times. Phil wants to make like a booty builder video with him as like the person on them. Like, no, Phil's not going to get any views. Anyway,
I think we're going to run out of time if we keep going into fiber orientation and stuff like that.
Everybody wanted a detour on the glutes. Okay, Blake. All right.
We'll save that for another video.
All right.
We got too many other things we want to get through. Oh, let's go mobility training / stretching.
All right. And we're going to differ here. Underrated. Blake says overrated. Okay.
You can give me your argument first.
Yeah, I'll go first. So mobility / stretching training, and I know exactly where you're going to go with this.
Well, of course, you've heard it from me a lot.
Yeah. So the reason I say it's underrated is just because, quite frankly, like it's most people just should do more of it, not necessarily one or the other. Like, think of mobility training as kind of like dynamic stretching. I'm going to butcher the scientific terminology behind this, but like here in America, any form of moving your body is usually a good thing, right? Whether this is weightlifting, yoga, stretching, mobility training, running is fine. Like, we just don't move enough. We're sedentary. So I'm never going to tell people don't do mobility and stretching, okay? I particularly think stretching is useful before bedtime. I've been doing it more myself. In terms of should you dedicate like a full day of workouts to mobility / stretching? Maybe not, which is why I'm going to let Blake take over and explain his thing here.
Well, I've always been a guy like, why don't you train it through the ranges of motions with your training to help increase your mobility? Because you'll have the weight and more of a stimulus to pull yourself into those like areas of range of motion that you haven't had access to.
Yeah.
Because like you can spend an hour a day stretching, but you also need to take into account what are you doing the other 23 hours?
Right. Yeah. And I think the key thing is that people don't understand, and what you're trying to say is that when we do exercises through a full range of motion, like that is stretching basically. It's stretching with weight. That's mobility. You know, flexibility is kind of your ability to hold a static position, whereas mobility is your ability to take the body through these different ranges of motion under a load. And it's even more important for preventing injury when you play sports, things like that. So,
Yeah.
pretty much it. Yeah. Yeah. So full ROM, people. Okay. Full
Partial reps
range
don't
of motion.
count.
Partial reps don't count. Hit
Should have
them
wore
with
that
those.
shirt today.
Should have. Yeah.
Should've.
Should have worn it. What's next?
All right. Let's go science-based lifting. That's the one I want to get into.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to explain a little bit what that means to the audience because they would be like, I thought you guys only used science. All right. Oh, he's going to do the double
I'm gonna
again.
go to the
He's
double.
going to the double. I'm going to go that it's underrated. Okay. So tell me what science-based lifting is in your definition.
Well, a lot of the science-based lifting is looking at what is the best and optimal setups, exercises for muscle growth at certain areas where they took like a number of test subjects and studied them over extended months, weeks, or whatever with certain thresholds they had to, what's the word, hold up to.
Yeah.
So it was like we could take 20 dudes, everybody takes it a 1 rep in reserve with this one exercise and see what the muscle growth is compared to this other bro maybe movement that we had.
Yeah. And so it's like truly, it's based on like a data, like a research study. They're like lab rats doing weightlifting, basically.
And then a lot of times they also don't have probably the length that they should or the amount of people that they should, because sometimes they'll have 20 to 30 people and it's like, well, what's 20 to 30 people compared to 1 million people that work out?
Yeah.
Plus genetics play a role. There could be some other little factors too. Sleep, nutrition.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so that's the case for it being overrated, right?
Yes.
I guess, I had a little bit of a different definition of like science-based lifting. I was thinking of science-based lifting as more of just like the real technical stuff of like, oh God, I don't know, like just actually thinking through the way that the muscles move. Kind of like I would consider everything that you do science-based lifting, whereas a lot of us, and I kind of fall in this category, are just bros who are like, let's push the weight over our heads, Okay, yeah. And that's why I was just going to say that it's underrated, because ultimately what you want to do is you want to learn how the body works biomechanically. Like you don't want to just get you like, okay, I want to build, some big shoulders or something. Well, then it's not necessarily the best thing to do to just be like, okay, let me see if I can shoulder press with, 50 pounds, 60 pound dumbbells, higher. And I do it with 2 inches of range of motion, whatever. Like understand the mechanics of how does the shoulder move? What are the 3 heads of the deltoid? How do we train them properly? How do we hypertrophy them, make them grow the most? Yeah. So it's more science-based than just being total bros. But yeah.
Because they're talking, the stretch is the biggest thing, greatest thing ever now. And I'm starting to get just annoyed with how many people are like advocating for stretch and everything is the biggest thing. Is what you should always look for, because now it's coming out like the dumbbell fly should be one of the best chest exercises because of the stretch you get at the fullest length. But I mean, as you come up, pass and adduct the humerus up, you kind of like lose that mechanical tension. So I mean, I don't know, it's just kind of annoying. I'd rather use a cable.
Yeah, because there's tension the whole time.
Yeah. Necessarily, kind of.
Yeah, because when we're talking about the stretch, when we say the stretch in an exercise, we're just saying like the part of the exercise where the target muscle is stretched out the most. Okay, so like in the case of a cable chest fly, that when we're laying on the bench, we bring our arms behind us, we stretch out the chest with that bottom part of it. It's really stretched out. And so all of like the nerd exercise bros are like, the stretch position is what grows the most muscle. When you have a slow eccentric, which is the way back into that stretched position, that supposedly grows the most muscle, but we probably we don't want to over focus on it, basically.
Whereas like science-based is becoming all revolved around that and starting to get annoying because look at Arnold, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler. Those guys had a bit of bro in them. Yeah. So I think a blend of science and bro would be perfect.
Yeah. I actually totally agree with that.
Kind of letting get away a little bit. Stretch is still important in my opinion for tendon health and all that stuff. Injury risk drop down.
Yeah. But I totally agree with that. A mix of science and bro. Mix of real science and bro science. Okay.
Choose next.
Oh boy.
We might have to do a part 2 of this. We got a long list.
We got some time. We can go through this. Fasted cardio. Overrated.
Overrated.
Yeah. You can make a good case for why it's underrated, just because it gets people off their ass and moving in the morning,
Yeah.
which is always good. But what people say that fasted cardio burns fat, basically.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a scientifically false statement when you compare it to regular cardio. I also question the people who say that at 40 minutes of zone 2 cardio, that's when the fat burning starts. I don't know if I agree with that either. In my opinion, fat burning is basically a calories in versus calories out equation throughout the course of the day and the course of a period of days. And you have to also do some strength training and eat enough protein to maintain your muscle mass. But anyway, yeah, you go.
Well, it goes the line of everybody thinks or allocates fat burn to fat loss. They're two different subjects.
Okay.
So they think when they do fasted cardio, they're burning fat, but they don't take into account that calories in, calories out later in the day is going to equate more to that fat loss than it is that fat burning cardio you did in the morning.
Yeah. So essentially, like what you're saying is people just shouldn't even really look at are you also saying that they shouldn't look at a workout as how many calories am I burning?
No, it's more of they're looking at I'm in a fat burning mode. So that essentially means I'm just going to lose weight or whatever.
Yeah,
and they don't take into account fat burning and fat loss are two different.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I also think here that cardio at any point is good for you. It's good for your heart. It's good for your circulatory system and all that. It's not, in my opinion, the best type of exercise for changing your body composition, for burning body fat, and obviously not for building muscle. But long story short, I don't think there's much of a difference if a person does 30 minutes of cardio at 6 a.m. fasted versus 30 minutes at 4 p.m. after 2 meals. You know, it's about the same effect in my opinion. So yeah, I'll pick another one here.
What do you got?
Oh, artificial sweeteners. Fuck that. We know those are stupid. No, let's do that one. All right. Yeah.
That one.
Artificial sweeteners. It's almost, what do we phrase it as? Artificial sweeteners as like a good replacement for sugar, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now I actually need to think. All right. Overrated. Okay.
I'm gonna go
is underrated. This doesn't surprise me. Yeah, I mean, the reason I say overrated is because I'm such a stickler for whole natural foods. And I think in general, the less artificial ingredients you put in your body over time, probably going to be better. That being said, I think I know where Blake wants to go with this.
Well, it's more of like if a Diet Pepsi gets you closer to your weight loss goal than a regular Pepsi, go for it. I'm still like a Whole Foods guy. I'm not a huge fan of just like pumping artificial sweeteners and everything to sweeten everything up. I think to a certain extent it can be good, but I always got like digestive issues from pumping it too much. So just slim it down a little bit. It's that Diet Pepsi isn't going to kill you compared to that Pepsi.
Yeah, it's less calories. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then my other spiel is everybody always goes with those studies saying it causes cancer. Well, a lot of times those people just read the headlines. You didn't read what the study was.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of times it's cells in a petri dish that they gave 9,000 times more than what a human would consume in a day, or rodents. I was like, we are not rodents and we are not cells in a dish.
That's interesting.
Therefore,
go ahead.
I was like, therefore, it cannot be a very conclusive study. And it's like, well, you stand out in the sun for 20 hours or you go on tanning beds and that causes cancer, but that doesn't stop you. But sucralose in your granola bar is where you draw the line. That's where it like loses me sometime.
Yeah. Do you think, what about like Red 40? Is it the same type of thing?
I'm not too much into the dyes. I'm going to be honest. I don't have much knowledge about the dyes.
If they do the data the same way.
Honestly,
because I've come to I pretty much now, because I've read it, the internet told me a few times, Red 40 causes cancer, so we're going to ban it, so like.
I mean, basically everything causes cancer at this point.
Yeah. You cause cancer, Blake. Get out of my face. Get out of my face, big dog. Okay. You pick one here.
What'd you do to my list?
Sorry, I scrolled somewhere.
Let's go. You have to sweat during your workout.
Okay. Easy. Overrated. Okay. Yeah, I sweat like barely ever anymore. And I do mostly strength training and not that much like long, steady state cardio. So it makes sense. Still sweat if I go play a basketball game. But like, yeah, I just don't sweat very much during my workouts. Yeah. You don't need it to build muscle or to burn body fat.
Or lose weight. Like everybody, what is it? What's the word? I want to say allocate, but I don't want to say that. Everyone blends losing weight with how much you sweat.
Yeah.
And that is just not the case because I barely sweat when I work out, but here I am like 5 pounds down from barely breaking a sweat while I'm doing my strength training and stuff like that. it just stuck with me because I had one client back in Mankato that got really mad because her workout didn't produce enough sweat for her. She's like, I need to sweat to burn calories. And I was like,
Yeah.
sweat is just the body naturally cooling you down by releasing the water. I was like, that doesn't have any correlating effect, really.
Yeah.
I was like, you're just losing water weight at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's almost, and I actually kind of put like in general cardiovascular exercise in this same category. People think of like sweat, soreness, or breathing heavy and cardio as ways to be like burning calories and burning body fat. And in my opinion, they can all be good things and like useful things, and can be good for your health. It's kind of good for your health to sweat. It's good for your health to breathe heavy, do cardio, get your heart rate up. But it's for the most part, it's for the most part like a non-factor. It's a neutral factor when we're talking about recompositioning the body, building muscle / burning body fat, or a combination of both. So, yeah. What's next?
I'm sure you want this one. Ab circuits.
Okay. Yep.
That was the quickest overrated ever.
Overrated. Okay, so we just did the soda games a few days ago. Oh, dude, I was telling you. And so the soda games here at Soda, we have once a year. There's like a competitive group workout. I decided to participate in it this year. And it's like six-minute circuits of a lot of core stuff. Like there were some other things too, but like think of it as almost like 6 core / cardio circuits, damn near. And dude, because I never train abs like in isolation, like hardly, and I never do a core circuit. Like I just don't train abs, period. And here's like the ironic part. Like I'm gonna just, I don't mean to sound arrogant with this, but I have a 6-pack. Like I just want people to understand that, okay? Because I'm 9 or 9.5% body fat, right? I don't train abs, period, right? So having a 6-pack is basically related to your body fat percentage. You can train the rectus abdominis, the abdominal muscles, to get a little bit larger by doing, good ab exercises like decline crunches, maybe, ab roll. There's a few other ones, right? But that's a minimal factor in it. It's mainly just a body fat percentage thing, right? But these core circuits that people do, like if I am going to train the abs or if I'm going to train them with a client, I usually like to do it in a way that's similar to like another muscle group where we might pick an exercise that we do 8, 10, 12, or maybe up to 15 reps of, because that's kind of the best way to hypertrophy, to grow muscles, rather than doing 50 reps of flutter kicks and 50 reps of penguins and then passing out for a minute and then coming back up and trying to do 50 more reps of flutter. You know what I mean? Like yeah.
Was it train your abs like another muscle group, train it to failure, and then you'll get growth out of it? Granted, you can't spot reduce body fat down there, but you can like build the muscle up. That way, when you get in your calorie deficit, it'll show a little bit more, because I train abs maybe once or twice a week. Yeah. I have abs. I don't sit there and do a circuit for like 30 minutes after every workout. Like I'm kind of an example of ab training circuits. It's kind of overrated. It's like, I just got into a deficit, tightened things up down there, and now you can see my abs relatively.
Yep, exactly. I mean, would you train your chest with a chest circuit where you do 50 reps of a pec fly and then 50 reps of a one arm like punch forward? No.
I might have to use that as a new argument.
Yeah. Just tell them that. Yeah. Are you going to train your? No.
What is it? I saw this meme a while ago where it's like, I got into working out because I wanted to get abs, and now it's the least trained muscle group I have.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the ab circuits are just, and everybody does them. We still do them. Like I'll probably use one of them today because like it's what people want. Like if you trained with me in any of the small or large groups and you're listening to this, like it's what everybody wants. Like this is the hard thing about being a coach or trainer, is we have to mix in what people think that they want and need with what actually really works. Like we have to. I'll say it to the internet. Like we have to trick you into coming back by giving you a little bit of like this variety in these ab circuits that you think you want and need, but you really don't. Like what you need to do is get better at the main compound exercises, do them with frequency, eat in a way that, if you're trying to burn some body fat, that gradually lowers your body fat percentage a little bit. And like, that's it. It doesn't have to be all this fancy variety, and it definitely doesn't have to be freaking ab circuits. All right. What's next?
Cold plunges.
Yeah. Overrated. Yeah. You can go first.
I suppose I can be on like the middle ground for this one because there is a lot of cognitive benefits and stuff like that.
But you're already smart, dude. You don't need the cognitive
I know.
benefits.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bill could use it.
Mental clarity, all that stuff. Like if you want to use it for that, perfectly fine. But if you want to use it more for recovery and stuff like that, be careful, because that inflammation you created from your workout is what you want for the adaptation, for the muscle building to go on. So I always laughed when all those people would go work out at Fitness for 10 and then post their sauna and cold plunge pictures after. I'm like, well, you just shot that last hour of working out you did.
Yep, there went your gains, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's my thing on cold plunge and even sauna and all this stuff. Is a lot of people are really big into this because Andrew Huberman told you that cold plunge for however many minutes a week is gonna, make you have the greatest life ever and live to be 200 years old. Okay, sure, maybe, but most people really struggle in the three key areas related to health and fitness, which are movement/exercise, nutrition, and sleep, right? It doesn't matter how many cold plunges you do. If you're still hammering beers and potato chips every night and you don't really move your body that much, and animal crackers, a cold plunge is just, it's not for you. Like, you could do it for fun every now and then, but like, focus on those important things first. Get some solid sleep, get a regular sleep routine. You start eating a more whole foods diet and do some exercise, ideally with Coach Blake, because he's smart. I'm just kind of a meathead. And do those three things, and that's where you need to be. Not worried about your cold plunges. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Let's go mind-muscle connection. I think this is going to be a very controversial one.
A fun one. All right. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Overrated. Okay, yeah. So, mind-muscle connection is basically just, can you feel it when you're doing an exercise? Can you feel the target muscle group working, right? That's a good way to describe it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what do you think?
I think it's kind of like overrated because everybody thinks like, if I can't feel my bicep on a bicep curl, I'm obviously not doing the exercise right. But if I'm like watching your technique and everything lines up how I want, like there's only one way you can get your hand up through that elbow flexion with the bicep, bringing it up to there. Mm-hmm. That's like on a lateral raise. Granted, sometimes I feel my traps a little bit more, but the side delt literally abducts my shoulder up. So it's clearly working. I may not get the best pump or whatever, but it's clearly working. So I'm not always fixated on feeling the muscle. Yeah. Granted, it's nice, but also if you get too hyperfixated on it, I think you're just like going to be shooting yourself in the foot, caring too much about it.
Yeah. I actually don't think I have anything to add to that. That's about exactly what I would have said. So let's just go to the next topic.
Yeah. It's just nice to be able to do, but don't hyperfixate on it.
Yeah.
Let you choose.
Probably go I think we can go like 5 more minutes. And okay, good. You've been erasing them here.
Yeah.
Should we just bang through all of these?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go right down the list. 5 minutes lightning round. Okay. HIIT, high intensity interval training. Overrated. Can do HIIT. That's it. Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Overrated. All right. Pre-workout supplements. Oh, you son of a bitch. All right. So why is it underrated?
Depends on some of the products you buy. Like Gorilla Mine, please sponsor me if I get famous. Gorilla Mine, going from that compared to this like other cheap crap like C4 is like getting traded from the Cleveland Browns to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh.
Like performance, blood flow, all that goes up once you have the proper dosages of all that crap. Unlike C4 that just like, well, yeah, that's a lot of caffeine. 1 gram of this, 1 gram of that. You might get it in one scoop. You might not. Whereas like Gorilla Mine creates the perfect dose, whereas like you just scoop it in and everything's right there. Like I went from 6 pull-ups with the last Redcon stuff I had before to 10 pull-ups on the first try after having Gorilla Mine back in my system.
Listen closely, Coach Kira. We still haven't had the Kira versus Blake pull-up competition.
Hey, if she wants it 10 to 15 minutes, I'm down for that. I'm not doing 40 minutes. That's a waste of my time, in my opinion.
Well,
because I don't think my elbows can honestly hold up for 40 minutes anymore.
I could make jokes about why your elbows are not feeling so good, but we'll save those for another day.
Too many curls now.
No, is that what it is? No, this is actually maybe my biggest disagreement with Coach Blake. I think pre-workout's overrated. I've never taken pre-workout. I'm in pretty good shape. Yeah, so let's go to the next one. Well, the deconstructed burpees was a joke I put on here for Coach Phil, but actually just burpees in general. Dun, 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 overrated.
Yeah, who wants to jump on the floor, act like they're doing some certain type of act?
Who wants to jump on the floor, potentially hurt themselves, and not really get growth in any major muscle group? Mm-hmm. Nobody, except
just a random thing that CrossFit thought was cool.
Exactly. Weighing out your food, overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Underrated, yep.
Had my best like fat loss phase when I was weighing out my food and figuring out all my macros.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, tracking your macros works. It sucks, but I mean, if you want to get shredded, track your macros.
It's very disappointing when you think something was 1 serving is actually 2.5, and you got to go down to the 1.
Correct. Yep. Careful with the olive oil and the peanut butter. All right. Soreness. Yeah, overrated.
Overrated.
Yep. good to be a little sore every now and then, but if you're excessively sore, like I still am from the soda games, it was a bad workout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like everybody thinks like if I don't get sore the next day, I didn't have a good workout. You know how many workouts I've had where I didn't
Never
get sore?
Yeah.
Like you see me crushing the weights on the hack squats all the time. I'm not miserably sore, even though I'm pushing more weight and more reps every time, but it's still, I know is going to be beneficial for me.
Exactly, because your body's gotten used to it, but that doesn't mean you're still progressively overloading the movement, even though you're not getting sore from it. Detoxing. Well, I mean, depends what type of detox, but
Overrated.
Yeah. Yeah, all these people out here that are doing like the cleanses and stuff like that, in general, overrated.
Just usually ask them, what are your kidneys and liver not do already? Or I hit them with,
there you go.
What are you trying to detox and why are you trying to detox it? Then they get quiet.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a better answer than I usually have. But yeah, detoxing is mostly overrated. Test boosters, testosterone boosters. Oh boy. Yeah, I guess I don't know that much about this.
I'd say overrated. It's just like another thing you can buy from the nutrition shop that they'll sell you that's probably micro dose compared to what would be an actual dose to help your test.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit, but honestly, something you can make up with the sleep and the other daily habits.
Yep. Perfect. Agree with that. Working out for longer than an hour. Overrated. Yep. I haven't worked out for more than 60 minutes in like 7 years. Like I don't even touch an hour.
Yeah, I think most of my like weight resistance training is 45 minutes to an hour. That's because I'm usually hitting like 2 or 3 big muscle group areas and time just kind of runs there.
Yep, exactly. If you're working out for more than an hour, you're probably doing stupid stuff by the end.
Yeah. Probably junk volume. Exactly. Like I tell people, like when they have like 6 or 7 leg exercises, I was like, do you think it's easier to pay attention to 2 children or 7 children? Like, are you going to be able to give more attention to 2 children and give your best effort? Or are you going to be able to do it to 7 and give your best effort?
Man, you and Phil come in with these cool metaphors.
Think about that with like your exercise selection. Like I had one gal that wanted to do a workout program to get ready for her wedding. And I gave her like a leg day that was hamstring focused. There was only 3 exercises.
Yeah.
And she asked me, is that it? And I said, yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're doing more, it's overkill.
Exactly. Yep. And the same could be said about the body in general. Stop trying to do that many different exercises. Get really good at the most important ones. Long eccentrics. Okay. Long eccentrics, everyone. Eccentric is that negative portion of the rep when you're going back to the point of origin.
I think this is going to be controversial.
Maybe. It's a tough one. I mean, I'd say underrated, I guess.
I'm going to go overrated.
I was just going to say underrated because we're back to the point where people need to focus more on the stretch position and do proper technique and slow control. But yeah, go ahead.
But Jeff Nippert had a video come out about 3 months ago where they tested people with 4-second eccentrics and 1 to 2-second eccentrics and found similar growth in both subjects. Okay. So I think as long as you're like controlling the weight in that 1 to 2, you're perfectly fine. Drawing it out, you probably lose a little bit more power and output, which could like lower your motor recruitment from the muscles.
Yep.
But they did have some data that some parts of the quad grew better from the longer eccentrics than the shorter eccentrics. So there might be something there. But I'd say if you're like hyperfixating too much on that 4 to 6 second negative, might be killing some of the muscle building.
Yeah, and if you're that good where you already know the difference in your gains between whether or not you're doing a 1 to 2 second eccentric or a 3 to 4 second eccentric, you're smarter than I am, and you don't want to work out with me. Maybe Blake could still teach you some things, but
1 to 2 with good control.
1 to 2 with good control. I mean, I guess we should call it because unfortunately we have other stuff to do in our day.
Yeah. And we got through everything, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
That was a pretty long list.
Sorry, I'm getting mad at the messages. Getting mad at the messages I'm seeing on my phone. I got to just throw this thing in the trash.
Oh, man. Mine's dry as the Sahara Desert.
Oh, don't worry. Mine are not good messages. Yeah, Blake wants to get messages from girls who want to date him. But anyway, should we end this?
Yeah. I'd say call it good.
All right, man. Thanks. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Coach Blake.
Yeah, no problem. And, happy to be back.
Yep.
Maybe the audience will want me back.
Yep. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, let's definitely do another one sometime. All right.
All right. Peace out, everybody.